3, 2, 1, go!
Hey folks, Aaron here. Welcome back to another anime review. Today we are looking at episode 4 of ReZero Season 2. Now, I apologize in advance, guys. I'm a little disheveled. I had to go do some chores earlier, and when I was finally done, I was able to watch ReZero Season 2, Episode 4. When I finally did, I finished it. I was still, like, filled with sweat. Like, I was sweating so profusely because it is like 1,000 degrees out. It feels like it's not legit 1,000 degrees. I think we would all die, but it was pretty hot. It was bad outside. So I went to take a quick shower, and I wanted to get this review out to you guys because, folks, let me tell you something. The minute I watched this episode, which by the way is a 29-minute long episode, so you already know it was going to be epic and it was going to be jam-packed full of moments. But the minute I saw this episode, the minute I got even a quarter way into it, I knew I had to do a review for it because this is hands down one of my favorite episodes, I think, of ReZero so far. The second season, especially maybe just possibly the series in general. You know, I was talking to Zypher, it was also another YouTuber, and Memory NK, or as you guys know, Nate. I was talking to both of them, and we were all in agreement this episode was just incredible. It was so heart-filled, and it was just one of the most engaging episodes of ReZero. Not because it was filled with action. Like, don't get me wrong, folks. This is not an action-packed episode. There's no magic, per se, being thrown around. You know, it's a very simple episode. It explores something that we haven't really seen too much of the ReZero world, and that is Subaru's backstory. Now, in case you guys don't know, you know, back in the first season, they showed Subaru going to a convenience store. That was how the whole show started off, and then being whisked away to this new world that he lives in currently. And now that he's going through the trials, you know, we know that the trials, the main focus of them is to face your past, as the voice said to him. So obviously he's facing his past. He woke up in last week's episode, the very end of it, in his own bed from his original home, and you know he's greeted by his father. And we continue off of that one with the fourth episode, where you know his father, we quickly learn, is kind of crazy. He's very wild. He's very energetic. You know, he's muscular too. Dude's well built. Like Subaru, look at your dad. Your dad's built. I'm pretty sure he could take on half the characters in ReZero just with his fist alone. Like, I seem to think he's holding some kind of power of his own right. But, you know, it was funny because he's had such a goofy relationship with his son, and I love that. I thought that was so cool that they showed that because, you know, typically in anime we don't see a lot of parental-like relationships. We see them occasionally when it's like a romance series or when it's a drama series. We see them once in a while pop up. But I think this is like the first dynamic relationship that I saw that it almost felt like legit Subaru's father was trying to be his best friend more than just a parent. You know, like, I think of the Japanese culture, and I think of the Asian culture in general, parents try to be both offhanded sometimes with their children, and at the same time, you know, try to engage them when they can. But, you know, in the anime world, we've seen kind of both sides of the coin. We've seen, you know, parents like, for example, Clannad. We saw, Nagasa's parents. Actually, I couldn't blank their name for a second. Nagasa's parents were very, like, carefree and very goofy and silly. You know, it's rare, though, because we've seen other shows that their parents are really strict and, like, you know, like, oh, you're not doing the work you're supposed to be doing, you're not going to school, etc. Because we learned in this episode that Subaru has been ditching school for quite a while. He started off going for a few months, and then he stopped when he entered high school. And, you know, it took, like, one day he would take one day off, and then a couple days turned into 3 days off, and then it started being where he didn't show up to school at all. And we learned quickly that as he's talking to his dad, in, like, a very heartfelt moment from the show, that he always felt like he just wasn't, like, that great as a person. You know, I think this harkens back to how he was in the series overall, because you see Subaru constantly going through this feeling that he's just not enough for anyone. Like, he always feels like he's inadequate for whatever situation he's dealing with, you know, whether it's magical issues, whether it's fights, whether it's battles. He always feels like he doesn't have enough to bring to the table. And those few moments where something shines through Subaru is the few moments that he doesn't even really recall too much. He, like, reflect on for a few seconds and then immediately feel again like he didn't do enough. And I think one thing that we learned from Subaru is because his dad set a very high, you know, standard for, you know, not him in on purpose, but more so because his dad was Mr. Cool in school. You know, he was the one getting all the records, you know, and everyone was like, oh, look, you're definitely like your father. You're definitely his son because, quote unquote, he was that popular, he was that good. And Subaru had that at height when he was a kid, that he was going through and doing everything well. He was getting good grades. He was getting high scores in you know, various things. And then he was, you know, he would win races and stuff like that. You see him with a picture with his mom and dad holding a medal. And then as he grew older, he kind of fall into the wayside where he started losing the race. He started getting horrible scores in school. And school for him just became less and less interesting. He started becoming more of a comical character where he wanted to be that, class clown, as we call it. And that progressively got worse and worse as the series went on. And I think as his life progressed, it just became his staple was he's always goofy more than having to be serious. And if you think about it, it's actually interesting because they show this a lot in ReZero, where they show Subaru being more of a comical character instead of being a very serious character. Yeah, he has those moments where he could act serious and where he could act, very intellectual, but more often than not, Subaru kind of goes into this thing where he fights a lot with jokes. He fights a lot, almost like, if you think about it, and I'm not trying to make the exact comparison, but think of like Spider-Man, where Spider-Man's always witty. Even when he's losing and he knows he's getting his ass beat, he's always going like, no, I'm going to throw some one-liners out there because I just want to show that it's not bothering me. And Subaru does something very similar. A lot of times Subaru will be losing a fight or losing something in general and throw jokes out because he knows that that's his kind of crutch, like his humor. And as you see his character, his backstory, that is how he was. He was always, leading the class clowns because he's like, hey, I want them to laugh. I want them to always feel like, they can't have fun without me. If I'm not around, no one's going to have fun. And as time progressed, though, people do mature, obviously. And I think Subaru wasn't maturing as fast. So a lot of people started going and leaving him behind. And he kind of was by himself. And he was dealing with the world and how he felt inadequate alone. Now, as we find out quickly, too, his parents never, treated him worse for this. They actually were still his loving parents. They still treated him with so much care. They still acted like, he was goofy. They still try to be always on hand with them, trying to do stupid stuff with them. And that's what I think kind of made him feel worse, is because his parents weren't going like, how dare you, you bring dishonor to us. No, they were like, hey, it's okay, let's have fun today. Let's go, do this or that instead. Instead of telling him, go to school, what are you doing? Wake up, get ready to go to school. They didn't do that. And they were offhand with him. And, I'll say this, not to get too out of the anime because I don't want to focus on this too much, but that's a good trait to have in parents sometimes, to be offhand, because sometimes kids need to grow and learn themselves what to do. But at the same time, you gotta be careful, because that could also be a double-edged sword, because as we see Subaru's character, he kind of went off kilter with it a little bit. Like, he stopped going to school altogether, and it got progressively worse and worse as time went by. I mean, he grew up himself as time went by because of his various challenges. But for a person that doesn't face any challenge, like, so imagine if Subaru didn't go to this other world, didn't face, evils beyond imagination, if he would have stayed home all day and just played games and would have just been goofy and stuff like that, I don't know if he would have turned out to be such a great character. He might have been a weaker person. So it's like, offhand parenting is something that works, but also it has to be in moderation too, So I think his parents did the right thing with him in this case, because they knew he would grow up to be something special. And as his mom puts in a line, I love it, where she goes, "You're half of your father and half of me. So no matter what, you're going to already be amazing because you also have yourself, Subaru. So it's going to be you're always going to fill your quota of being amazing to their eyes, even if he was only half of what his father was, or even half of what his mother was." I love that. I think that was such a great quote, and I think really more people need to know that they're half of their parents. If their parents are something they look up to, they also have to realize that no matter what, even if they don't reach that caliber of what their parents are, they're still themselves, So I think ultimately who you are matters more than just being clone to your parents or being like your parents. You have to be yourself. And Subaru's definitely himself, he's definitely got the quirks of his mom, as we saw in this episode, and also the quirks of his dad. Like, his mom is a little bit of a strange airhead and stuff like that, and she has some very outlandish thoughts. Like, I think one comment she makes was about mayonnaise versus the world. Like, what would you sacrifice? Would you sacrifice mayonnaise or the world? And he's like, why would you ever No, I choose the world. Why would you sacrifice mayonnaise unless you hate the world? And she's like, yeah, but I love mayonnaise. And it's like, I like you, Subaru's mom. I think she's cool. I liked both of his parents. So, his kind of end conclusion of the whole episode was him going away from his parents because he realized that he's not going to see them in a long time. Don't spoil it, guys. I know light novel readers might know about his fate with his, going back to his family or that anything of that nature. Excuse me. Couldn't speak for a second. But I don't want you guys to spoil the comments because I know some people might be going, well, we want to know, but let the story play out, at least anime-wise, for people that might not read the light novels. I'm curious because has time been going normally in this world? What if it's like one of those things where he's in another world and really time has stopped? Like, it's only been the time he's gone to the convenience store, or times it's slowed down. What if they ever do that? They might talk about that one day. And maybe he never will see his parents again, which, it might happen, because if he stays in the other world, he's going to be trapped there. He's going to always be there. He won't ever go back home. Who knows? I'm very curious what this series is going to do with that, to be honest with you. I've always been wondering about that. Will they ever go back to the real world, or will they go stay at this other world? Anyways, though, what I think was amazing, though, was the very finale where we see Subaru go to class and meets the Witch of Greed, as we've seen her from the last couple episodes. The Witch of Greed knows more that she's letting off, and I think she knows the trial. She knew this was a trial, so I'm wondering if Subaru's finally awakened to that realization, fully, that this is a trial, or if he's kind of stuck between. Because as he's reacting to things, we notice he's reacting like he's still with his parents, but also at the same time he's acting like he's in the real world, and he's acting like he's not of this world, the new world he's been put into. So I'm curious to see what his reaction is going to be seeing the Witch of Greed in this situation. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. This episode was, to me, without even saying anything, incredible. I have to say that this is probably one of my favorite episodes. I love the emotional concept of it. I love seeing Subaru's backstory, where it's not over the top being different from any other show. Like, there's been shows that have talked about, relationships with parents before, but the way they did it in ReZero Season 2, they did it in such a nice way where they blended, I think, all these personalities of Subaru into both his mom and dad, and made sure that that's how crazy he is. That's why he is the way he is in many ways. Like, why you see him fight the way he does, and why he acts the way he does. And I just loved the dynamic between his parents and his family. I think that was so well done in the show. I give the author so much praise for that, because I was blown away by it, to be honest with you. I think it's rare that you see such well done parents in anime, and especially now. I wonder if they ever show up again. I hope they do, because I actually like their characters a lot. But I feel like that might be their finale is here. This might be the only time you'll see them again. Anyways, though, like I said, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's episode. Will I do more episode reviews? That's kind of based on you guys. I noticed some love with my last one, so I will probably do a few more of these, when I feel the show is doing something really good and I want to mention it. Because, obviously I didn't do last week's or the week before, because they were good episodes. I love the episodes. ReZero Season 2 has been phenomenal so far. But I want episodes that really have an impact with me, and I want them to be reviewed by me when I have that feeling. So, guys, I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy your amazing day. God bless all of you. If it's nighttime for you guys, get some sleep. What are you doing still awake? If it's morning, well, have a great day further from there. For me, it is currently, 1:53 in the afternoon, so yeah, I'm going to try to relax for a little bit. I'm off, obviously, which is why I'm doing a review. I'm going to enjoy my day. I'll talk to you guys later. God bless you all. See you later, everyone.